Muslim-majority countries make up more than 50 states across Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Europe. Together, they represent over a quarter of the world's population, vast natural resources, and key strategic regions. And yet, when global crises affect Muslims, whether in Gaza, Kashmir, Myanmar, or elsewhere, a common question keeps resurfacing. Why don't Muslim countries act as a unified bloc? To understand this, we need to look beyond emotion and examine history, politics, and power. First, Muslim countries are not a single political entity. While they may share a religious identity, they are nation-states with their own borders, governments, economies, and priorities. Modern Muslim states emerged largely from colonial rule, with borders drawn by foreign powers that often ignored ethnic, tribal, and historical realities. This legacy created states that were politically fragile from the beginning, and more focused on survival than collective leadership. Second, political systems across the Muslim world vary dramatically. Some countries are monarchies, others republics, some military-led, others semi-democratic. These governments often have conflicting interests and, in some cases, deep mistrust of one another. Cooperation requires alignment, and alignment is difficult when leadership structures, legitimacy, and domestic pressures differ so widely. Third, external influence plays a major role. Many Muslim countries remain economically or militarily dependent on global powers such as the United States, China, Russia, or former colonial states. Aid, arms deals, trade agreements, and security guarantees often come with political expectations. Acting collectively in ways that challenge powerful allies can carry serious consequences, and many governments calculate carefully before taking such risks. Fourth, internal instability limits external action. Several Muslim-majority countries face civil conflict, economic crises, sanctions, or governance challenges at home. When governments are struggling to maintain stability internally, regional leadership or unified foreign policy becomes a secondary concern. Unity is difficult when survival is the priority. Fifth, sectarian and ideological divisions cannot be ignored. Political rivalries framed through sectarian lenses, particularly between Sunni and Shia-led states, have weakened trust and cooperation. While Islam emphasizes unity of the Ummah, modern geopolitics often exploits identity differences to advance state interests, turning theological diversity into political division. There is also the issue of institutions. Organizations meant to represent Muslim countries collectively exist, but they often lack enforcement power. Statements are issued, meetings are held, but binding action is rare. Without shared mechanisms for decision-making and accountability, unity remains symbolic rather than strategic. It is also important to address a common misconception. Unity does not mean uniformity. Expecting over 50 countries to act as one voice at all times is unrealistic. Even blocs like the European Union, with shared laws, markets, and institutions, regularly face internal disagreement. The difference is that they have built long-term frameworks that allow disagreement without total paralysis. The Muslim world has not yet achieved that level of institutional integration. From an Islamic ethical perspective, this reality is painful. Islam emphasizes justice, mutual responsibility, and standing against oppression. Many ordinary Muslims feel a deep sense of frustration when these values do not appear to translate into collective political action, but it is important to distinguish between the Ummah as a moral and spiritual concept, and Muslim states as political actors operating in a competitive global system. This does not mean unity is impossible. History shows periods where Muslim societies coordinated effectively, but these moments required strong institutions, shared vision, and relative independence from external control. Today, progress toward unity is more likely to be gradual. Through economic cooperation, regional trade, educational exchange, humanitarian coordination, and people-to-people solidarity, rather than dramatic political alignment overnight. Ultimately, the question may not be why Muslim countries fail to act as one bloc, but how conditions can be created for meaningful cooperation to grow over time. Unity, in this sense, is not a slogan. It is a long process, one that requires political reform, economic strength, ethical leadership, and a return to principles that prioritize justice over rivalry. Until then, the gap between the ideals Muslims hold and the realities of global politics will remain, and so will the responsibility to keep asking difficult questions without losing sight of the values that inspired them in the first place.